Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Golden Bachelorette Chalk talks seeing Joan kiss the other men. Golden Bachelorette winner Chalk Chapel is opening up about life with his new fiancée Joan Vassos. As the two enjoy their time together out in public, they are sharing details about their life, including how it was watching the show back on television. Chalk even talked about what it was like watching Joan kiss the other men on her season. What did he say? Keep reading to find out all the details. What did Chalk Chapel think watching Joan Vassos kiss other men? Golden Bachelorette fiancé Chalk Chapel is having the time of his life with his bride-to-be Joan Vassos. The two have been spending time looking for an apartment in NYC, plus they are getting to know each other's family. While they were out having a blast, they did manage to make some media stops and share some thoughts about various topics. One of those topics was with US Weekly about what Chalk thought about Joan kissing the other men on her season. Overall, he thought Joan did an amazing job managing her journey and being fair to all involved. He said, "It's been incredible. Joan's done a fantastic job navigating this whole journey, not only for herself, but for the other guys who were involved. She did it with class and respect for everyone." What about her kissing other men? Chalk admits there were a few cringe moments, but overall he did okay watching it. He said, "If she was gonna kiss guys, at least I knew these guys. They're all good men. It's part of the journey. There were a couple cringe moments, but I handled it." Joan shared that Chalk knew where he stood. Golden Bachelorette Joan Vassos revealed that it wasn't too bad for Chalk Chapel to see her with the other guys. He knew them and knew they were good people. She also said that he knew where he stood with her. They were pretty confident in their relationship from very early on in the process. Chalk was confident in their relationship and said the bowling date he got a lot of heat for was the first time the men got to really see his connection with Joan in person. He can see why the men were somewhat frustrated with the situation. Golden Bachelorette Chalk talks seeing Joan kiss the other men. The cozy living room of the Bachelor mansion gleamed in the soft glow of fairy lights, the epitome of romance. Joan had been glowing all season, a vision in sequins and sophistication, the epitome of grace. But now, as Chalk sat across from the camera crew for his confessional, his composed demeanor had cracked. "I knew what I signed up for," he began, his deep voice tinged with frustration. "But nothing quite prepares you for watching the woman you're falling for. Fall for other men too." Chalk was a retired firefighter from Spokane, Washington, whose rugged charm and salt and pepper hair had quickly made him a fan favorite. From the first cocktail party, sparks had flown between him and Joan. Their shared sense of humor, passion for the outdoors, and mutual love of Sinatra had made them an early frontrunner couple in the eyes of fans. But this wasn't a one-on-one dating experience. It was the Golden Bachelorette and the stakes were high. The previous night's episode had ended in a dramatic cliffhanger, Joan leaning in for a heartfelt kiss with Michael, the poetry-writing widower, under the sprawling oak tree. "I mean, the oak tree," Chalk said, throwing up his hands in mock disbelief. "That's our spot. Joan and I talked about everything under that tree, the future, our dreams, our fears. And then, there she is with Michael. It stings, man, it stings." Chalk wasn't alone in his turmoil. Back at the contestants' shared villa, a tense atmosphere hung over breakfast. Gone were the jovial mornings filled with coffee and jokes. Now the men sat in stiff silence, glancing at each other warily. "Anyone else notice Joan's lipstick matched Michael's cheek last night?" quipped Roger, the retired Navy officer with a knack for stirring the pot. Chalk didn't bite. Instead, he pushed his eggs around his plate, his thoughts racing. Was this a test of his patience? A reminder that Joan wasn't his yet. When the date card arrived later that afternoon, the room collectively held its breath. "Chalk," the host read out, pausing for dramatic effect, "Joan wants you to join her for a sunset dinner by the lake." Relief flooded Chalk's face, and the other men begrudgingly clapped. Roger, never one to mince words, leaned over and muttered, "Better make it count, pal. She's still got 5 roses left to hand out." The sun was setting when Chalk arrived at the lakeside, the golden hues reflecting off the water. Joan stood waiting in a flowing cream dress, her smile as warm as the evening air. "You look stunning," Chalk said as he embraced her. They settled into their candlelit dinner, the conversation flowing easily. But the kiss with Michael weighed on Chalk's mind. I want to ask you something, he said, setting down his fork. And I hope it doesn't come across the wrong way. Joan tilted her head, her expression open but cautious. Of course. What's on your mind? Chalk hesitated, then dove in. Last night, I saw you and Michael under the oak tree. And I get it. This process is about exploring connections, but that tree felt like our place. I guess I'm wondering, how do you balance it all? Joan reached for his hand, her touch reassuring. Chalk, I won't lie. This isn't easy for me either. Every connection I have here is meaningful in its own way, including ours. The kiss with Michael. It wasn't about diminishing what we have. It was about seeing if there's something there with him too. I need to be sure I'm making the right choice in the end. Chalk nodded, though his heart ached. I respect that. I do. But I'm not just competing for your heart. I'm trying to protect mine too. Joan squeezed his hand. And I promise I'll always be honest with you. You mean a lot to me, Chalk. More than you know. The evening ended with a kiss that for Chalk felt like a balm to his wounded pride. But as he returned to the villa, he couldn't shake the image of Joan and Michael under their tree. The next group date brought another round of awkward moments. Joan had planned a memory lane challenge, where the men shared significant mementos from their lives. Chalk brought his late wife's favorite recipe card, a simple yet poignant reminder of his past and his readiness to embrace a new chapter. But it was Michael who stole the spotlight, reciting a poem he'd written for Joan, comparing her to autumn's first golden leaf. As the group applauded, Chalk forced a smile, his frustration simmering just below the surface. Back at the villa that night, the tension boiled over. You've got a way with words, Michael. I'll give you that, Chalk said, his tone light but edged. Michael looked up from his journal, his expression calm. Thanks, Chalk. I mean, we're all here for the same reason, right? To see if we have a connection with Joan. Sure, Chalk replied, but some of us are putting more stock in actions than fancy words. Roger, ever the instigator, smirked. Careful, Michael. Chalk's got dibs on the oak tree. Laughter rippled through the room, but Chalk wasn't amused. Laugh all you want, he said, standing, but this isn't just a game to me. The week ended with another rose ceremony, the tension palpable as Joan stood before the group. Each of you has shown me something special, she began, but tonight I have to follow my heart. One by one, the roses were handed out, and when Joan called Chalk's name, the relief on his face was evident. As the ceremony ended, Chalk approached Joan for a private moment. I'm here for you, he said simply. But watching you with the others, it's hard. I won't pretend it's not. Joan looked at him, her eyes filled with gratitude. I know, Chalk, and I admire your honesty. Just trust me to figure this out, okay? Chalk nodded, though the uncertainty remained. As he walked away, he couldn't help but wonder. Would he be the last man standing, or just another name on Joan's list of what-ifs? Back in his confessional, Chalk sighed deeply. This journey, it's like walking a tightrope. You're trying to keep your balance, but the higher you go, the harder the fall. He paused, his eyes distant. But for Joan, I'd walk it 100 times over. The camera cut to a dramatic preview of next week's episode. Joan sharing yet another kiss, this time with Roger. Next week, the announcer teased, things heat up as Joan faces her toughest decision yet. And Chalk, he's not backing down without a fight.